Welcome back to the Jacked Up Garage. On this episode, we're going to start step one of our short-term goal of not a complete restoration, but getting this thing back on the road and getting her driving, do a 100-mile test, take her to a couple car shows, see what kind of fun we can have with her before we bring her back in and tear her apart and build it right. So, well, right according to me. So hang in there, and we'll be right back, and we'll get started on her. Okay, so first of all, will she turn over? Looking at it there, I can tell you the answer to that right off the bat is no from right now. So there's a few things that we're going to have to do to see if we can get this engine to turn over. And let me give you a little bit of a history on this car. So I bought it from a guy who has had it since 2009, and he pulled it home and he put it in his barn, and it has sat there ever since. And when he bought it from a lady who had it in her barn, and it had been sitting there since 1973. So I just got lucky and was able to talk with both of them. She's 83 years old and just the sweetest lady you'd ever talk to, and she gave me a lot of information about the car. Her and her boyfriend had their first date in this car. They were adults at the time. It wasn't like they were 16 years old, but they had their first date in this car. They drove it everywhere. They loved the car, and they were going to get married. He parked the car in her barn, and one thing led to another, and they split up, and he married someone else, she married someone else, and the car stayed in her barn. And she just kept telling him, hey, you better come get the car, it's just going to waste away, and he just never did. And eventually he just said, nah, I just don't want it. And so she sold it to the guy I got it from. So he didn't get a title, I didn't get a title. And that's a whole nother episode that we'll talk about, the challenges in Indiana about getting a title for a car that didn't come with it. So we'll talk about that another time. So anyway, I feel good about her story. You always hear when you buy a car off of Craigslist, quote, it ran when we put it away, unquote. But I feel good about her story, and I don't think she has any reason to lie to me about it. I believe that they parked it, and it was running and driving at the time, and then just never did again, just for whatever circumstances. So I know that we could get her to spin, but it's going to take some work. So a couple of things that we got to do to get it to spin is we got to get that water pump pulley off of there, that fan pulley off of there, that belt off of her. We got to get that generator off of her. We got to get those plugs out. I want to pull the breather and the carburetor off, just so we have as little resistance holding that crank as we possibly can. So step one, I'm just going to start pulling the top of that breather off, get that thing off there. We'll have a look at it. We'll get the carburetor off. We'll get that. Then we'll go to the generator and that pulley, get the belt off of there, and then we'll start trying to work on those plugs, because those are going to take about 7 gallons of penetrating oil and probably some heat before they're going to move. So we'll get started on that, and we'll get back to you. Okay, so while we're getting started here, or before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about this car. I paid $300 for this car and drove 300 miles to get it. So it was the right price. It had been sitting for a long, long time. The guy I got it from had it since 2009. It had been sitting in his barn not doing anything. And the lady he got it from had it for decades before that. It had been sitting in her barn since 1973. And a long story behind it, a story that I believe just because of the other stuff that I know about the car. It was driven in and parked in her barn, and it sat there and never moved again until he bought it in 2009, and then I bought it from him the other day. So I believe that she will turn over, and it's going to take some work, and we'll get her going, we'll get her moving, and see what we can do. But she's going to fight us. It's been sitting so long in this humid and then dry and then humid and then dry environment we have here in Indiana, and this is way up north near the lake, so where she was at, where it sat for the longest period of time. So it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. The linkage is all locked up on the carburetor, and just getting in there and trying to turn the engine by hand with the belt and everything hooked up, it's just not budging. So it's gonna fight us, but we'll see what we can do. So let me glove up, and we'll start pulling that breather off of here, and maybe I'll tell you a little bit more about what's happening in the process of the car right now. Okay, this is a 324 with an automatic transmission. When I pulled this up on the trailer, we got some really nice, pretty red fluid coming out of the tail shaft of the transmission. The drive shaft is in the trunk of the car. The guy, when he towed it to his house after it had been sitting for so long, was smart enough to take the drive shaft out of it, since it is a water-cooled transmission. So I know it had fluid in the transmission, which is awesome. However, if you pull the dipstick, it registers nothing. So it is dry in the sump. But that's good and bad. I mean, the bad is that there's just no oil in the bottom of the engine. The good is that it's not full of water. I mean, you could tell that by pulling the dipstick out. So this thing had been kept inside for a long, long time. So I feel confident that something can be done with it. It's just going to take some work. It's going to take some time and a lot of elbow grease. So let's pull this off here, see what it looks like. But it seems to, that's intact. I don't know why that was. And not really rusty. Oh man, that weighs about 40 pounds. Alright, first look at the carburetor. I see some surface rust. Like I said, the linkage is locked up, so it's probably got some just rusted tight from moisture. Hopefully we can get that, we can rebuild that. That's a Rochester Quadrajet, or a 4-jet. Get a bad rap. People don't have a whole lot of good to say about them, but they're fine. They do just fine for the application. I wouldn't race it by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll do just fine. So we'll get that thing pulled off of there, and we'll order us a rebuild kit. Well, we'll pull it apart, take a good look at it, see if it can be rebuilt. It's not all jacked up, and we'll see if it can be rebuilt, and we'll order us a kit, and we'll do that as a project over the winter. This thing weighs about 30 pounds, so I'm 99% sure it's either full of a mouse nest or full of oil, or both. So we'll get that over there on the bench, and we'll open it up and take a look at it if we can. Look at this here. Now, the other thing that I need to make sure everybody understands is I am not a mechanic. I am not a professional body man. I'm not a professional car restoration expert. None of that. I am just a DIY guy who likes messing around with old cars. So none of the stuff that you will see me do is as a result of any sort of professional training. It is all from necessity and just goofing around and trial and error. So with that being said, you are warned not to do any of the things that I do and expect any kind of good result. So do it at your own risk. So let's see if we can get this thing open, or flip it over here. It's probably got a bunch of oil in it. I really don't want to flip it over, but we may have to do that just to see if I can get it cracked open. So let's give it a shot. That's not a good sign. Oh yeah, okay. So right off the bat, it is got an intruder. So God, I hope he's not still in there. Ugh. Yeah, it smells like the dumpster at Taco Bell. Ugh. Okay. Well, let me get some tools to get that cracked open and see if we can't make it smell even worse. Remember that part about what I said about not being a professional and not necessarily doing things the professional correct way? This is my breather opener 9000. Let's see if it works. Oh yeah. Now, if we get Wild Kingdom coming out of this thing, I'm gonna be running for the door. So I'm not afraid of mice. I just don't like little things running all over. Okay, no. Not for me. Well, you can say what you want, but I'm running. Every man for himself. Come on now. You want to? I can feel it. Let's go. God, it's heavy. Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's bugs flying out of it. Okay. What do you think? Yeah. Maybe that was why it weighed 20 pounds. Are we going to be able to do anything with this? Well, I guess we're just going to have to clean it up and see. All right. Well, step one. Ugh. Oh, no. No, 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 no. Okay. Oh, we're going to need a bigger trash can. All right. Let me go pull that over here. Probably need a big bucket or a tub. Let me go get an oil tub. See if we can't get this nastiness out of my garage. Sorry, a little bit of this. Oh. Ugh. Lord. All right, this is going to take a minute, so let me get into this and get this thing cleaned out a little bit, and then I'll show you the result. Okay, that was a bad start. Off to a bad start. I don't know. My guess is we're going to be looking for a reproduction. It's just got too much metal gone in all the wrong places, and that's just the top. Bottom's got chunks missing too. Just a little rough to even try to do much with. And I don't know if anybody's done a conversion on, I'm sure they have, but if whoever's done a conversion on these, what you cut off, if anything, to use a paper element in there. Be curious if I got enough left here to do that with. So we'll just have to check the forums and see. And then the actual filter element. And it's not bad. I mean, that middle part, that's not bad at all, actually. It's just dirty as hell. It just needs cleaned out. But I'm telling you what, they did a good job of getting the dirt out of the air before it went down in the carburetor. But my God, are they just messy as all get out and just a pain in the butt to deal with. So we'll see what, if anything, can be done about this unit. Or we'll be looking for something to sit on top of it for in the meantime, and then maybe a reproduction. We'll see. All right, enough of that business. Let me show you what come out of it. Dear Lord, when I popped that thing open, I swear I saw some carcasses of bugs preserved in that oil that have been extinct since the Pleistocene. Nasty, just nasty, and it stinks like you can't imagine. So that's enough of that nonsense. We'll move on to the carburetor, see if it'll even crack loose. So hang tight. Oh, it just smelled so bad. Should have been wearing a mask. Should have been wearing a mask. Anyway. So I think what I'm going to do for the remainder of the night is I'm just going to hit everything on here with some penetrating oil. We'll come back in the morning and see what wants to break loose for us and what's just going to continue to fight us. But the goal then for tomorrow would be to get the rest of the things off of here that we want to get off. The plugs out, the carburetor off, that generator off, and that fan pulley and belt off of there. And then we'll see what we can do. My guess is those plugs are seized in there as well, and we're going to have plenty of trouble getting those out, but we'll see. So thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe and the like, and if you want to leave a comment, great. If you like what we're doing here, or if you just want to rip me to shreds for doing things the wrong way, I don't care. Go ahead and leave it in the comments, and I'll try to answer what I can, and we'll go at it again tomorrow. So thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.